I want you to picture two very different moments at a gaming table. Just close your eyes for a second, unless you're driving, obviously, and really go there with me. Put yourself in the chair.
All right, I'm there. I'm in the chair.
Scenario A. It is the deep dark, the dungeon level that nobody ever comes back from. The entire table has gone dead silent. I mean, you can hear a pin drop.
The snack bags have stopped rustling. That's when you know it's serious.
That's how you know. The player running the wizard is, like, literally sweating. They're gripping their character sheet like it's a life raft in a hurricane.
The pressure is on.
Oh, it's crushing. The fighter player physically leans over the table, looking at the battle map, eyes wide, and says, "I am stepping in front of him. I am a human shield. Do not let anything touch him." Everyone is holding their breath. And they aren't waiting to see how much damage a spell does. They're waiting to see if the spell even happens at all.
That is a very specific kind of tension. I know that feeling. That's the air getting sucked out of the room. It's visceral.
Exactly. Now, shift gears. Scenario B. Same game, technically. Dungeons, Dragons, dice, snacks. But here, a player looks at their sheet, maybe takes a sip of their drink, and just confidently announces, "I cast Fireball."
Right.
Rolls a handful of dice, and high-fives the person next to them because, they just cleared the room.
It's a completely different energy. One is abject terror, and the other is a victory lap.
And here's the thing. We spend so much time in this hobby arguing about additions or math or which rule set is balanced. We argue about linear fighters and quadratic wizards, but I don't think that's what's actually going on between those two scenarios.
No, I don't think so either.
I think we are looking at a fundamental shift in the philosophy of magic itself.
I agree completely. It's not just about the numbers or the damage output. It's about the relationship the player has with the act of casting. It's the difference between magic being a tool you just use and magic being a volatile force you have to wrangle into submission.
We've been breaking this down for a while now, and we sort of categorize these two styles into what we're calling performed magic and activated magic.
Performed being that, that old school style of play, the roots of the hobby, and activated being the more modern, streamlined standard we see in most games today.
And the best way I can describe the difference is this. Performed magic is like trying to defuse a bomb while people are shooting at you. Activated magic is like firing a gun.
That is a very vivid analogy, but it holds up. It really does. One is this incredibly complex technical operation where a million things can go wrong, and the other is just a trigger pull.
So today we're going on a deep dive into this distinction. And look, I want to be clear right off the bat. This isn't the back in my day episode. We aren't here to grumble about new games or say one is objectively better than the other.
No, absolutely not. Both styles create fun games, but the key is they create different games. Our mission today is to analyze the design gravity of these mechanics.
Design gravity, I like that.
Yeah. We want to explore how these two approaches change, who takes the risks, how the party behaves, and, whether your game ends up feeling like a survival horror movie or a superhero blockbuster.
So let's unpack this. Let's start with the sweaty wizard. Let's talk about performed magic.
Right. So when we look at older styles of play, and I'm talking about the design philosophy from the 70s and 80s mostly, magic wasn't treated as a simple transaction. It wasn't just a resource you spent from a bank account of spell slots.
It was a commitment, a real commitment.
Exactly. It was a commitment to the fiction. To cast a spell, you had to perform specific, often very dangerous actions within the game world itself. We always see VSM in spell descriptions, verbal, somatic material.
Yeah, but in modern games, let's be honest, those are mostly just flavor text.
They're tags, metadata. Unless you're literally tied up or in a zone of silence, you pretty much ignore them.
But in this perform style, they were tangible obstacles. They were actual gameplay mechanics you had to deal with.
Let's break them down. Take the verbal component. In a modern game, the player says, "I cast Charm Person." Maybe they do a little voice for it. But in this old school performed style, the requirement is that you are chanting strange, arcane words loudly.
You're not whispering.
No, you have to hit the right pitch and resonance, which means you cannot be stealthy.
Impossible.
Yeah.
You can't whisper a fireball. If you are casting a spell, you are announcing your presence to everything in the dungeon. You are effectively ringing a dinner bell for every wandering monster in earshot.
Hey, over here. There's a squishy, unarmored person chanting loudly.
Exactly. Come get me. It changes the entire tactical landscape before the spell even goes off.
And then you have the somatic components. You need both hands free. You're waving your arms around in these precise geometric patterns. You are physically occupying space and making yourself incredibly obvious.
You can't be holding a shield.
Can't be holding a shield, can't be grappling someone. You have to be completely free to perform the gesture. And what if you're in a tight 5-foot wide corridor with your friends?
You might not even have the room to cast. You might smack the fighter in the back of the helmet.
Right. The physical space of the game world actually matters to your ability to do your class feature?
And then the material components. This is the one that I think has changed the most.
Oh, for sure.
In modern games, unless a spell costs a diamond worth 500 gold pieces or something, we just hand wave it. We say, oh, I have a component pouch, I'm good.
Right, it's just assume you have all the little bits and bobs you need. It's a solved problem.
But in the performed style, the specific items were critical. You needed back guano. You needed a piece of cured leather. You needed a live cricket or a spider.
And those things aren't just flavor. They can be stolen. They can be broken. If you fall in a river, maybe your spell book gets ruined and your components are just a soggy mess.
Or what if you get captured? The first thing they're going to do is take your stuff, they take your component pouch, and suddenly you are literally powerless. You aren't just a superhero waiting for a cooldown timer to reset. You are a normal person who has lost their tools.
It grounds the magic in the physical world in a way that I think is often missing today. It makes the wizard a logistician. You have to manage your inventory like a backpacker heading into the wilderness.
But the biggest factor for me, the thing that truly defines performed magic, is the vulnerability. It's what we've been calling the danger space.
The danger space is critical. This is the heart of your bomb defusal analogy. In those older systems, casting wasn't instantaneous. It wasn't an action. It was measured in rounds, not moments.
Yeah, can you explain that a bit? Because I think newer players might not realize how slow it used to be. The timing was completely different.
Well, in modern play, your turn comes up in the initiative order. You say, I cast Fireball. The effect happens, your turn is over. It's immediate gratification.
Clean. Simple.
Very. In the old style, you would declare you are beginning to cast at the start of the round. Then you'd start chanting. And the spell wouldn't actually go off until the end of the round, or sometimes even on your turn in the next round.
So for that entire time, you were just standing there.
You are standing there, chanting, waving your arms, completely exposed. You are a statue in the middle of a riot.
While the goblins are just running up and stabbing at you.
Exactly. And here is the absolute kicker. If anything significant happens to you during that time, if you take damage, if someone shoves you, if a strong wind blows out your candle for the ritual, the spell fails.
It just fizzles. Poof.
It fizzles, and usually you still lose the spell from your memory for the day. It's gone. You spent the resource, you took the massive risk, and you got absolutely nothing for it.
That is brutal. I mean, truly punishing.
It is, but think about what that does to the gameplay. When you, as the wizard player, decide to cast a spell, you are essentially painting a giant target on your back and telling the dungeon master, hit me, your best shot, right now. You are willingly entering a state of extreme vulnerability.
It creates this massive social disruption, both at the table and in the game world. Like we said, magic is visible, it's noisy, it's obvious. You couldn't just cast a quick spell in a crowded tavern without everyone stopping and staring at what you were doing.
Which creates a social cost within the fiction. You have to constantly ask, is this environment safe enough for me to perform this ritual? It's not just about the monsters. It's about the guards, the commoners, the king.
It shifts the core question for the player. It goes from, do I have the mana for this, to, am I safe enough to even try this?
Precisely. And that leads directly into the emotional impact this has on everyone at the table.
Right, the lean forward moment.
Yes. When performed magic is happening, the entire table physically leans forward.
Because it's not just the wizard's problem anymore. This is what I love about this style. If I'm playing the fighter, and I know that the wizard needs to stand perfectly still and chant for 10 seconds to get this sleep spell off, and I know that if he gets hit even once, we're all going to get overwhelmed by orcs, suddenly, my job changes completely.
You aren't just attacking the orc because you want to kill the orc to get XP. You are holding the line. You are body blocking. You're using the shove action not to push an enemy off a cliff, but just to keep them 5 feet further away from the guy in the robes.
The party must protect the caster. It creates this intense interdependence that's born from the mechanics themselves.
It forces teamwork. Not because a rule says, hey, you get a +1 bonus if you work together, but because the situation organically demands it. The wizard is a glass cannon, but while they are loading the cannon, they are made of actual literal glass.
And this brings up a key distinction we've observed, and it's about tension versus resolution. In this performed magic style, the tension happens before the effect resolves.
Yes.
The drama comes from that question. Can we afford to let you finish casting this? It's that hold your breath moment you described in the intro. The suspense is all in the attempt, not necessarily in the result.
It's the difference between will the spell go off and how much damage did the spell do? Two very different sources of tension.
It's like watching a penalty kick in soccer, right?
Yeah.
But in super slow motion. The kicker is running up to the ball and the goalie is diving, and you're just watching that run up thinking, don't slip, don't miss, don't let him save it. The suspense is in the run up.
That's a great way to put it. The payoff, the goal, or the fireball, is almost a moment of relief rather than just a cool moment of power. It's a release of that built-up tension. Oh, thank God that actually worked.
Okay, so that's the sweaty wizard. That's performed magic. It's gritty, it's dangerous, it's heavy. Now let's pivot. Let's look at the modern era, the high five wizard. Let's talk about activated magic.
So as games evolved over the decades, the design philosophy shifted. I mean, it's pretty clear the goal became streamlining the experience. And a big part of that was making players feel more empowered, more heroic. So magic became less of a dangerous ritual and more of an ability trigger.
This is the button press analogy.
Yes. In most modern TTRPGs, casting a spell is mechanically very similar to swinging a sword or using a special racial ability. It is reliable, it is standardized, and it fits neatly into the action economy of your turn.
It's clean. There's no mess. Your turn comes up, you declare the action, you spend the resource, usually a spell slot, and the effect happens. Boom. Immediately.
That instant resolution is the hallmark here. There is no waiting period. There's no round-long chanting where you're a sitting duck. You point, you click, the thing happens.
And the safety factor is just. It's a world apart. In modern games, failure is actually pretty rare.
And even when it does happen, the consequences are completely different. If you cast a spell and the enemy makes their saving throw, or you miss your spell attack roll, what's the cost?
The wasted spell slot.
That's it. That's it. You lost the resource. You didn't lose your physical safety. You didn't get stabbed in the back because you were distracted for 10 seconds. The risk to your character's well-being is almost zero.
It's an assumption of success. The entire game, all the math, is balanced around the idea that magic works. It's expected to work.
Correct. The modern caster is competent by default. They are a professional. They aren't a fumbling apprentice who might mess up the incantation. They've mastered their craft.
And we touched on this earlier, that the components are largely gone in this style. I mean, they're still there in the rules text, but in practice, at the table.
In practice, they're irrelevant.
Unless it's that 500 gold piece diamond for Revivify, nobody is checking if you have a sprig of mistletoe for Goodberry.
Right. And, I understand why designers made that change. It streamlines play. It stops the game from grinding to a halt while one player checks their inventory sheet. Nobody wants to spend 20 minutes of a session role-playing finding bat guano.
Oh, that's fair.
But by removing that friction, you also remove that entire logistical gameplay element. You remove the grounding in the physical world, magic becomes more abstract.
And that changes the vibe at the table completely. When we move to activated magic, we see a totally different emotional response.
It's the lean back moment.
Yeah. Contrast this with the lean forward. In a modern game, when the wizard's turn comes up, the rest of the table often leans back. They relax. They grab a chip. They know the wizard has this handled.
The caster acts with absolute confidence. There's no hesitation. The player isn't looking worried. They're looking at their spell list like it's a menu at a 5-star restaurant. What am I in the mood for today? A little area of effect, fire damage. Or maybe some single target psychic crowd control.
The whole tactical cocktail shifts.
Yeah.
It's no longer, is it safe for me to cast? It becomes, which spell is the most optimal choice right now?
Exactly. It becomes a puzzle of optimization. It's about efficiency. Okay, I have a bonus action and an action. I can cast the spell, then use this class feature, and set up the rogue for their big hit. It's engineering, not survival.
Optimization over survival.
Yeah.
That really is the key shift, isn't it?
Because the risk is removed from the act of casting, the entire focus of the player shifts to the result of casting.
And let's be honest, it feels good.
Yeah.
It feels powerful. It feels cool to be that competent wizard who just snaps their fingers and reality bends to their will. It solves problems cleanly without all those messy complications.
It does. And it changes where the risk lives in the game. It's something we've been calling risk displacement.
Risk displacement. Okay, break that down for me.
In performed magic, the risk is front-loaded. All the danger is up front. Will I get stabbed while I'm casting this? Can I survive the attempt?
Right.
In activated magic, the risk is backloaded. The danger isn't in the casting, it's in the resource pool. The question becomes, will I run out of spell slots before the end of the adventuring day? Will I have my best spells left for the boss fight?
That is a fascinating distinction. It turns magic from a survival game into a resource management game. You're not watching the road for potholes that could wreck your car. You're just watching your gas gauge to make sure you don't run out before you reach your destination.
Which brings us to the core philosophical divergence here. If we sort of synthesize all this, we can place these two styles on a single spectrum. Exposure versus protection.
Okay, let's unpack that. Exposure versus protection.
The old way performed magic is all about exposure. It exposes the caster to incredible danger. It makes the act of using magic a tactical liability that, if you pull it off, yields a very high reward. You are trading your safety for a huge amount of power.
You have to stick your neck out on the chopping block.
That's it exactly. You have to expose your throat to the enemy to unleash the dragon. The modern way activated magic is all about protection. The mechanics are designed to insulate the player from interruption. The system wants you to cast the spell, so it makes it as safe and easy as possible to do so. It protects your agency to act.
And this connects directly to genre emulation, right?
Right.
Because we always talk about what genre a game feels like. Is it fantasy, sci-fi?
Yeah.
But I think the tone matters even more.
Yes. And I believe this distinction is the single biggest factor in determining that feel. Performed magic, with all its risk and vulnerability, naturally creates a feeling of survival horror.
Survival horror.
Think about it. It's slow, it's dangerous, it's uncertain. The environment is actively hostile to you. The magic user is a glass cannon that might shatter before they even get a chance to fire a shot. That is the DNA of horror. You are weak and the world is strong.
Whereas activated magic feels like.
Cinematic action. It's a superhero movie. It is fast, it's reliable, and it's player-centric. The game assumes you are competent. If failure happens, it's usually narratively softened. You don't look like an idiot who messed up. The villain just parried your blast with their super shield.
It's the difference between the movie Alien and the movie The Avengers.
Precisely. In Alien, Ripley using the flamethrower is terrifying and clumsy. She might burn herself. The fuel might run out. It might not even work. In The Avengers, Iron Man's repulsor blasts just work. He doesn't have to calibrate them mid-fight. He just points and shoots.
Now, I want to touch on something we mentioned in the intro, that idea of design gravity.
Yeah.
Because I can hear some listeners saying, well, my GM runs modern D&D, but he makes it really gritty and hard. He describes the monsters as scary.
And that is totally valid. A good GM can always modify the difficulty or the description of a game, but design gravity is about the default incentives of the rules as they are written. If you play strictly by the book with no house rules, the gravity of that design is going to pull you toward a specific experience.
So if you play modern rules by the book, the gravity pulls you toward superhero action. If you play old school rules, the gravity pulls you toward survival horror.
Exactly. You can fight against gravity, but it takes constant effort. You have to actively swim upstream against the current of the rule set.
So why does all of this matter? Why are we spending a whole deep dive dissecting this? What's the so what?
The so what is what we call the mismatch problem. This is where I see tables fall apart, or where players and GMs get frustrated with each other and the game.
Friction.
It's all about friction. Friction arises when a system's mechanics promise one feeling, but the table wants a different feeling. The expectations don't match the engine.
Give me an example.
Okay. Let's say a group gets together and they all say they want to play a gritty, dark, low fantasy campaign. They want to feel fear. They want magic to be rare and terrifying. They want to feel like they are barely surviving in a dark, dangerous world. But they choose a modern high fantasy system with activated magic to play it.
I've been at that table. I've run that table. The GM describes this terrifying ancient monster, slobbering jaws, dripping ichor, an embodiment of ancient evil. But then a wizard player just says, okay, bonus action, I Misty Step 30 feet away, action, I cast Magic Missile. It automatically hits.
And the problem is solved. The mechanics completely undermine the intended tone. You end up fighting the system the whole time. The GM has to create artificial difficulty, just inflating monster hit points or giving them more attacks, because the system is fundamentally designed to protect the players, not threaten them.
It also changes the definition of power. Or maybe a better word is earned power.
That's a big one. In performed magic, power feels earned because you survived the ritual. You managed to pull it off despite all the chaos and danger.
You defuse the bomb.
You defuse the bomb and the whole table cheers. In activated magic, power is assumed. It's part of your character's kit. It doesn't feel like a triumph when you cast a cantrip. It just feels like routine maintenance. It feels like you're doing your job.
I also think it impacts party dynamics in a way we don't acknowledge enough. We talked about the bodyguard thing earlier.
Yes. And in modern games, casters don't really need bodyguards. Not in that same desperate way. They have the shield spell as a reaction. They have teleportation. Sometimes they have just as many hit points as a fighter. They are incredibly self-sufficient.
Which means the players don't have to interact as much to survive.
It can lead to what I call parallel play. Everyone is at the table, and they're all doing their own cool thing right next to each other, but they aren't necessarily mechanically interlocking. The fighter does their damage, the wizard does their damage, the cleric does their healing. They aren't different essential pieces of a single machine. They are 5 separate machines, all rolling forward in the same direction.
Whereas in the old style, if the fighter fails their job, the wizard dies. And if the wizard dies, the whole party fails. That dependency was baked right into the mechanics.
It creates a tighter social bond at the table, a bond that's born of pure necessity. You have to talk to each other. You have to coordinate every single move.
It's really interesting to think about how much of our roleplay is actually dictated by these subtle underlying mechanical choices.
Well, the mechanics are the physics of the game world. They tell us how reality works in this fictional space. If reality says magic is easy and safe, we act one way. If reality says magic is difficult and deadly, we act in a completely different way. You can't roleplay fear effectively if the mechanics are constantly telling you that you're invulnerable.
So let's recap the ritual of risk here. What's the core of it?
The core takeaway is the timing of the tension. Old magic, performed magic, changes the situation before it resolves. The act of casting creates a new problem. Defend the wizard before the solution to the original problem arrives.
And modern magic, activated magic, changes the situation after it resolves. The tension is in the resource management and the tactical choice, not in the execution of the power itself.
One makes the table nervous, the other makes the table confident.
And again, neither one is better. I love feeling like a superhero. I love knowing my spells will work. I love the fluidity and speed of modern combat. But I also sometimes miss the fear. I miss the sweat.
I think there is room for both. But you have to know what you're signing up for. You have to pick the right tool for the job you want to do.
So here's a final provocative thought for everyone listening. I want you to think about your own games. If you've been feeling bored with combat lately, if it feels like a slog or just a math exercise, maybe consider this.
It might be because everything is too reliable, too safe.
Maybe the fix for boring combat isn't cooler monsters. Maybe it is more hit points or legendary action. Maybe the fix is making the players scared to push the button.
What if we brought back the fear of the fizzle? What if magic was something you had to survive, not just something you use?
It's a scary thought. But sometimes, fear is exactly what makes the game worth playing.
It certainly makes the victory taste a whole lot sweeter.
So think about what kind of magic user you really want to be. The one with the gun or the one defusing the bomb. Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive.
We'll see you next time.